Right guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another video. In this one I'm just going to be showing you a situation that you might come across on your own bike and you want to know how to fix it, and that is over time your shifting has gone out on your bike and it's just got worse, and then you're riding one day for instance and you've only got like half the gears on the rear cassette. So this applies to like Shimano road, this would be applying to, with an internally routed cable inside your frame, and you want to know how to change it yourself without taking it to your bike shop for them to change it. You just want to be able to do it at home quite simply without any special tools as such. So what I do, I'll go ahead, I'll run through it step by step, so the video might be quite a long-winded one, but it's just running through it so you can do the job at home yourself without any special tools. Now this will apply to anything frame wise on a road bike that uses cable that is internally routed inside the frame. This doesn't apply if your bike, which a lot of them do, uses an outer casing that runs right through the frame and out by the derailleur. So in that case all you got to do is push a new cable all the way through and it'll go through the frame and it'll come out down by your rear derailleur, no problem at all. This is if you've got the outer casing that only enters the frame and that's where it stops there, and then inside the frame itself all you've got is just the inner cable. So if you want to know how to change that from your shifter to your rear derailleur, like I said, this applies to Shimano shifters, road shifters and the rear derailleur. This just happens to be one of the later style rear derailleurs, but like I said, it'll apply to many of the Shimano derailleurs, 11 speed road. So let's go ahead, let's run through the steps. So as you can see, what we've got is the derailleur shifted over to the largest sprocket on the back, and this could happen any time you're out riding your bike and then suddenly you can shift up to anywhere higher in the cassette, and then you go to shift back down and it'll only shift halfway down roughly, or not, or a little bit more, and it will just stop shifting. You can tap the lever as much as you want to change down and it just stops. So I'll just demonstrate that. As you can see there, the derailleur's over on the largest sprocket. So you go to shift down, and say you could have been riding the day before and there was nothing wrong with it, and then I'll shift down, you can see it move so far and then it will stop. So as you can see down there, it stopped about halfway down the cassette. I'll keep tapping the lever and that's it, it won't change no more. It'll change up, then you come to go back down and that's it. And you're looking at the cable where you can see the outer cable there and you think, well, it looks brand new, there's nothing wrong with it. But what's happening is, it's at your shifter end. It's getting fouled up inside the shifter body because that's where they always go. So it doesn't matter how new your cable looks down here, after so many miles of changing gear, they get frayed up in the actual shifter body itself. So it could look immaculate down here. So what I'll do is, obviously, as you can see, it's internal routed. So you're thinking, well, I want to change my cable. Obviously you don't want to take it to your bike shop to get that done, where you can just buy a cable for not a lot of money and in a cable. Thinking, how do I get it through and out here when it's internally routed all the way up to your head tube? So I'll just go through and run through it and show you how to install that cable to your derailleur. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the pinch bolt for the cable. So that's a 4mm hex head on this particular derailleur. Depends what you've got. So I'll just remove the cable like so. Then obviously you've got your stop on the end. So what you need to do there is just snip that stop off as close to it as you can. and then leave the cable like that, because what you want to do is just remove it out of your barrel adjuster like so. So if you've got a piece of outer cable here, the outer casing, then you can pull that off like that, and then it'll just leave the inner cable there, so you can remove that off of there. So you've got a nice length here of inner cable still. So the next thing we need is you want to get yourself some of this. So it's just plastic, like PTFE Teflon tubing, as you can see there. So it's like roughly 1mm internal diameter. So you can buy in lengths, just get yourself a decent length of it, like 3 meters you can get, and then you just need to cut that down into a couple of sections, one for your down tube and one for your chainstay. So I'll just go ahead and I'll show you what to do with it. So what we've got is the tubing, like I just showed you, and then we cut it down a length so as you've got plenty of extra. So it's going from here with a nice, like, I don't know, 10 inches or 12 inches overlap at least past the end of the chainstay, and the same down the bottom there where it's going to go out under the bottom bracket area. So make sure you've got plenty either way. So you just need to snip a piece down like that, because we need to get the cable along and then out under where your bottom bracket cable guide is without removing the cable guide, which I'll come to now. So here we are under the bottom bracket. Now, as you see, you've got the cable guide here. Now the cable after removing is up inside there, closest to your chain rings, and then the front derailleur cable is here, as you can see, just there. Now we can't drop your cable guide down out of here, because you've got your front derailleur cable, which is nothing wrong with it, is there, and that's tight, so you can't drop it down here. Even with the rear connected, you'll only drop it down a tiny amount, because that cable there is still attached to your front derailleur. So to avoid doing anything with your front derailleur cable, because you don't need to, so there's nothing wrong with it, that's why we need 2 pieces of the tubing. One's going to come along here after we fish the cable out from in there. So we got the cable at the rear like that. I haven't done anything under the bottom bracket at the minute. So what you want to do next is up by your head tube here, wherever you can see your cable that's coming out like that, or anywhere you can see it or get to it, is pull it out of there just enough so you can see it there, so you're not pulling the cable through from the chainstay. So you can just see it here, so you've got room there to snip the cable here as close to the casing there as possible, so you've got an end. But what you want to do is snip that off there. If you're worried about it falling inside the frame or anything like that, you can always just stick a bit of tape around it to stop it falling back through. So you snip that off first. So just snip it there like that, and we'll worry about that piece of cable up in there in a bit. What we need to do first is, like I say, get this down. So now you've snipped it there, what you want to do is we get the plastic tube in and we'll put that in. So we're back at the chainstay end. Now what you need to do is, if you've got an end on there that's going inside your frame that'll hold the outer cable, the outer casing, you just need to pop that out of the end of the frame, because you might find that the plastic tubing won't fit through the hole in there, so just get rid of that out of the way if yours has got something like that in the frame. So just remove that out of the way. It might have something like that, it might not, just depends. Then we'll put the plastic over the top of the cable. Then we just keep pushing it through like that. And it's going through the chainstay and towards the bottom bracket, following the existing cable that was just in there. Just got it all the way through. You might feel a bit of resistance as it's going all the way through. So then I'll show you back under the bottom bracket. So as you can see, I pushed it through there from the chainstay, and as you can see up inside there, try and show it the best I can, you can see the black tubing coming over the cable, just visible there. So that means the cable can run through that and it will come out under your bottom bracket. So you can see that just there. So now we'll go ahead and do the tubing on the down tube. So the next step is, what we'll do is we'll go up to the cable that's sticking out of up by the head tube on your down tube there, or wherever you can get to it, and then we'll just pull it. So gently just pull it out, keeping your eye on it. So when it comes out of the plastic in there that you fitted already. So there's the second tube coming up from down there. So you pull it out from underneath your bottom bracket, the cable, pushing it through from your chainstay. Then hook it out from underneath there. Then once you hook it out, you can pull it through from your chainstay, and then put your plastic on and feed your plastic tubing up from the bottom there, up over the cable until you fish it out the top there, and then pull your cable, your inner cable, out from in there. So it just leaves the tube that now you can push a new cable down. So what we need to do now is, we've still got the cable inside the outer case in there going up to the shifter. So we just need to get that piece out of the shifter. So to get it out of the shifter body, what I'll do is pull back the hood. So obviously you'll need to insert a new cable in here anyway. So pull that back. And now on the inside of the lever, so on this side, there'll be a cover. So if you pull the hood right back, just get a little pick and just flick the cover open. Just put it to one side, so you can see the little plastic cover there, like that, on the inside. So once we've removed that, then you'll be able to see your cable in here. So what I'll do is get a little pick or a little screwdriver and just hook the cable with it, and then pull it out, as you can see there, and then get hold of it and pull it through under your bar tape until it comes out. So there you have it there, like that. Now, so what I've done is I've zoomed right in so you can see this. Like I said, the shifter won't shift down on your cassette at the back, because if I pull back the cover here and show you where the cable should go through, you'll see why. You pull back that cover, you can see there inside the broken strands of cable in there, hence why the cable's losing its tension. Obviously it's breaking, so that's why it won't shift only halfway down the rear cassette like I showed earlier on. but now that's in there like that, I'll just show you quickly how to remove that all out of there. So what we've done is we've popped the hood back in position and then just pop the top off like that of the hood, because you need to get to the cover that's underneath here. You can see just a little line there where the cover goes. So if you pull back your hood enough, you need to get to the screw that's underneath. So you have to roll back your hood out of the way enough. So it can be a little tricky to get at. And then up underneath, if you're looking this way, like that, up under here, you'll see a small star screw. So if you get on that and undo it all the way out, just being careful not to lose it. See that there? So now what you can do is drop the cover down, you just fall down like that. So there's the cover. So what we've got there is, you can see just broken bits of cable in here where the shifter cable would go through, and then just there you can see the head of the cable. So yours could be stuck a bit further round. This section here moves round as you shift. So hence why if I press shifter, it won't change down, you can see, because of all the frayed cable in there. So it's not doing anything. So you can see the head of the cable just there. So you can try and get that cable out from in there. Now you can see it better with the cover removed, because it's all frayed up in there. So inside the actual body itself in here, there's all bits of frayed cable in here. So what I've done there is I've just shifted up on the lever like that, as you can see. So you can shift up if you can, and then it'll expose all the broken cable. And as you can see, going up the cassette, like I showed earlier, it worked fine, but when you change back down, so if I press the lever, and we'll zoom out, if I press the lever to change down, then what will happen is the frayed bits here come round and obviously get stuck. That's why it's not going down the cassette. As you can see there, that's it. They've all got stuck, all the frayed ends. So if you shift up, you might be able to expose the damaged cable a bit better, so you can get your hook in there, and maybe hook the cable enough to be able to pull it out and get the end off of there. So once you remove the cable, as you can see there, that's what it looked like. There's just one strand holding it on. I say they always go inside the shifter body, because the angle they're at inside the body itself when you're constantly shifting. So once you've done that, make sure that you shift down, and then you'll see the piece there where the cable end goes, that's coming back around. So make sure it shifts like that. As you can see, it's coming round and it will go up inside there like that, which is the position that you can then put a new cable through. So once you've got it to that position there and it works, you can shift up obviously and then back down, make sure it's working okay here before you go ahead and put your cover back on the bottom, put your screw in. So we've got the cover back on underneath, we put the hood back in place and we just pulled it back the opposite way. So as you've got the slot where the cable will go in, obviously you shifted down like I showed, so the cable's inside there, the housing is in the right place for the cable to go through and out the other side. So what you want to do is get the end of your cable, new cable, and insert it in the top hole there. Not down the bottom, just put it in the top. And then what you've got to do is, as it goes through, just make sure you've got the hood pulled out the other way on the opposite side. Otherwise what'll happen is it won't pass all the way through and out the opposite side. So you've just got to make sure as you're putting it through it's not fouling up on the rubber hood or anything. And make sure, like I said, you shifted right down, and then the cable go through like that, and you just keep feeding it on through and it comes out the opposite side, as you can see there. So you just pass it through and keep pulling it all the way through until you come to the stop on the end, like that. And then what you do, push it through and then put the stop down into the bottom slot, like that. And once it's in there, just pull it from the other side to make sure it goes up inside the actual shifter itself. There's no good on the outside. You've got to put it down into position, and then make sure it goes up inside like that. As you can see, just slid up in there by pulling on that side. So that's in place. So now what you can do is take the end of your cable and then put it through the hole where you can see on the inside. I'll just show you that, and then run it round underneath the bar tape and then out. So as you see, just get the other end of the cable and just put it down in there like that, and then that will go off round under your tape and come out on the opposite end of the outer casing, wherever that may be on your bike, down by the head tube more than likely. So this doesn't apply if it goes obviously completely hidden inside your stem and everything like that, and inside your bars and all that. So once you've got that in place there, then you just get your cover again and then put your cover back on like that, and then you're ready to pull the hood back over, and that's the shifter cable installed in there. So as you can see, we've got the cable out here now. It's going to go into the frame there. You see your plastic in there. So if you've got any covers, you see the covers removed there on the frame, make sure that you put that on your cable first. So just get that like that and put your cable through where it would go, down there like that, and slide that along your cable until it comes to the end like it would sit on the bike like that, so you know it's in position. So when you put this inner cable down through the plastic, you got it in position already. So you just get the end of it and slide it down like that. Just keep a hold of it while you're doing it and just keep threading it through until it comes out down by your bottom bracket area. Just keep going with that. So once you got it in like that, we'll see then you can go down the bottom and you can pull out the plastic tube out from down the bottom there. So pull that out through and then thread this down and clip that in to your frame. So as you can see, we've got the cable coming out from the down tube which we just put in, and it just does a loop, and then all I've done is just push it into the plastic that's already in there what I put in earlier. So that'll go through now, so all you do is just hold the other end over here and then you can push that through like that, and you'll feel it going in through it. So just keep that, pushing that on through, and then when it gets to the end eventually, all you do is the loop that's in it, you just put it around like that, and then you can put it in position like that. So now we just go to the over by the derailleur. So you can see the piece of plastic which the cable will be inside of, so you can just pull that out now, and there's the cable like that. So then you can put back on whatever you had in the hole in the frame. So slide that back over your inner cable and push it along in and pop that inside your frame like so. Then you can put the outer back on as well. Obviously if you want to replace that you can. If you don't know the age of the outer cable at this end here, just cut yourself a new piece of outer cable and put that on. So just slide the outer casing back over the cable, pop that in place. Now before you hook up the derailleur, make sure your barrel adjuster, wind it all the way back in clockwise to the bottom and then back it out half a turn before you do anything hooking the cable up. So just put that in like that. We've already wound that in like I said, and we just put the cable back through it and out. Put that in place like that. Then ready to hook up the cable to the derailleur. So before we hook the cable up into the pinch bolt, what we want to do is, if you knew your derailleur was shifting perfectly well, then you know that the settings are okay, so there's nothing to worry about with that on that aspect of it. But what you want to do is make sure you look behind before you hook the cable up and just check that the top guide wheel on the derailleur, just out of shot there, the little one at the top there, is in, not in line, but just towards the frame side of the cog of the smallest, the 11 tooth at the back, so it's not dead underneath it, it's just off towards the frame slightly on that one. And then push across with your hand, move the derailleur over like that towards the spokes, and make sure it's underneath the largest cog on your cassette. Could be 28, 32, 25, whatever you got on there. Just do that first, make sure those two settings are right. So if you want to adjust them, then you've got your high and low adjustment screws. So the low one does over this way with all of that by turning left and right, and the high screw obviously always, when it's in this position underneath the smallest at the rear, left and right on that screw just moves the derailleur left and right, so you can get it in the perfect place. Same thing applies to under there. You just move it left or right, whichever way you need to move the screw to adjust it before you go and hook up the cable. So I've just passed the cable through the pinch bolt there. So all you've got to do is grab hold of the cable and then pull in towards the front of the bike, towards the front chain rings at an angle such not to move the derailleur. If you pull in the wrong angle, you could move the derailleur by accident over a little bit, and then you'll wonder why it doesn't shift all the gears. It's because you've just slightly moved it as you hooked up your derailleur, so make sure you're not moving it. So pull straight towards the front chain rings. Then when you've done that, obviously make sure the shifter is still shifted down to the smallest at the back before you hook this cable up. Otherwise you'll wonder why you're missing some of the gears. So again, you just pull on it like that, and then do up your pinch bolt, pulling it tight on the cable, tight as you can, and then snug down the pinch bolt like that. So once you've done that, leave the cable as it is, then just go up to your shifter and check that it shifts. So just check that it shifts okay, like that, and then come back down the cassette, do it a handful of times just to bed the cable in. So what I'll do now, I'll put the chain on, and then what we'll do, we'll try it with the chain in position. So what we'll do is hook this up, make sure we got it right. So it should be right first time. So you don't need the chain on there to set the derailleur up. You should be able to set it up without a chain on there. So just put this on. Make sure when you're putting your chain on, you've routed it correctly over the top guide wheel as well, and you haven't missed and put it over. There's a bit inside there, so it stops your chain coming off, so make sure you've got it under there and not over it, because when you're riding you wonder what the noise is and why it's not working properly. So it's always something to bear in mind when you're doing when you're hooking the chain up, because something simple as that can ruin your shifting and you'll wonder why. So we just hook this back up like that, and then I'll just try it. See what you're doing, make sure your cable, you haven't cut it to length yet until you're totally happy with it, is out the way of your spokes. So we've got the chain on now, and all I've done with the excess cable, as you can see there, is I've just put a piece of masking tape around there and just threaded it up through and stuck it there. Otherwise, when you try your gears, the cable's always in the way of your spokes because it comes out at an angle like that. So you keep it out of the way of there. So like I said, we'll just try it for the first time, make sure it's okay. So as you can see there, it works first time. Now if you've got a gear that's just slightly misaligned, say in the middle of the cassette somewhere, and you just want to water it, skip in between two gears, then just go to your barrel adjuster and wind the barrel adjuster anti-clockwise slightly and just try it. That's all you can do. The barrel adjuster, wind it like that. If you set the gears up correctly, then you may not need to do it. Like I said, you may need to just give it a few clicks on the barrel adjuster just to iron out any skipping you've got on the cassette there. But if you've done the screws properly, then you should have the smallest cog and the largest sprocket there. You should have those dialed in straight away, because that's all the screws are doing. The limit screws are only setting the limit the derailleur moves between there and there. Anything else in between is just your barrel adjuster adjustment. And it's also worth checking as well. I'll just show you the B screw just in case yours is slightly out and you want to water it while you're doing it. So when you're on the smallest at the front, whatever you've got, your chainring, and then your largest at the rear on your cassette, whatever you've got on there, make sure that there's enough room for the chain to pass cleanly through, so it comes off the cassette and onto the guide wheel at a nice angle. It's not too far away, so the chain's coming off like that and diving down onto it. It's coming off at a clean angle there, just running off underneath the cassette at the bottom and then running onto the guide wheel. It's not getting fouled up. All you do to alter that gap there to make it bigger or smaller is just go to your B screw on your derailleur, not the high and low screw, the other one, the only one that's there, the third screw, and just alter that whichever way you need to turn it, clockwise or anti-clockwise, to alter the gap there. So once you're happy with everything, then all you do is snip your cable off at the back. Obviously don't leave too much sticking out, because it could interfere with the spokes depending on what derailleur you've got. So you just snip that off and get yourself a end stop, stop it fraying. Just put that on there and give it a couple of crimps. Right guys, so there's the steps complete for you. Now one thing to note is the cables, no matter what you've got, will always stretch a little over time. So what you have to do is, after you've been out for a few rides, then what you might find is the shifting goes out slightly. Now if that happens, all you've got to do is go to your barrel adjuster and then turn it anti-clockwise, because then all that's doing is turning it anti-clockwise. You're just tightening up the cable to take out the stretch in it, because over time what will happen is the cable stretch slightly. But if it's stretching too much, obviously after you've ridden it a lot of miles, then the barrel adjuster won't do anything. You can wind it right out and you'll never take the slack out of it, because as you see in the video, what happens is the cable is fraying inside the shifter, so you'll never be able to take the slack out because it's stretching so much to almost point of breaking, so you'll never be able to adjust it. So what you want to do is, after a couple of rides, if your shifting just goes slightly out, it's not as crisp as it was when you first did it, then just go to your barrel adjuster and give it a few clicks anti-clockwise, because all you're doing then is just taking that little bit of slack out of the cable. That now the cable's bedded in, it's stretched a little bit. So that's another thing just to bear in mind after a few miles on the bike. So I hope you found the video helpful. If you did, remember to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more cycle related content. Till next one, ride safe and we'll see you then.